Hey, this is Robert Gipe, and I'm going to do a little reading out of my new novel, which is called Pop, which was put out by the Ohio University Press. Here we go. This chapter is narrated by Hubert. It's the 12th chapter, and it's called Lonzo Park Gives Me an Earful. I ain't saying my past ain't checkered, but we weren't up to nothing with them cabins, just trying to show people a good time and make a dollar, and that's the truth. This county been running a four-wheeler park on a strip job on Blue Bear Mountain for 10 years when one of the boys said we should make some money off it. I'd done my business out of a store I kept across the mountain. I'd sold it to the Happy Dollar chain. They tore my store down and built them a new store. I had a lot of memories tied up in that store, but I was ready for a hobby job. I'd run hard for years and years, and it was time to piddle. We built 3 cabins out Long Ridge. The cabins was basic. Bunk beds, porches deep enough to sit and play music. The 3 cabins shared a bathhouse, had 2 showers, 4 commodes, a corn washer and dryer. There was a shed for your four-wheelers, a fire ring out front, a pile of wood for common use. First year, I think we had 6 groups, maybe 50 people. Second year, we put stoves and sinks in the cabins, refrigerators. People come to the Canard County four-wheeler park hadn't come for the artisanal hair care products in the shower or the granite countertops in the kitchen. They just wanted to get in the mud and party. Second year, we had over 400 people stay. Done pretty good. People liked our hands-off approach. Between that and this movie business, things was on the uptick. The morning me and Prestone went to Tennessee to get a washer dryer and also some drywall mud where a couple of the boys had been kung fu fighting during the off season and kicked a hole in a cabin wall. Me and Prestone were having a good morning talking about what we was going to get at the Chinese buffet in Caneville when my phone buzzed. I told Prestone to answer it. Prestone said, "Hello?" "Nah, he's driving." "Nah, he don't know nothing about that and he ain't paying for that." I said, "Who is it?" Prestone said, "Some guy says he's a missionary. Lonzo Park." I put my hand out and Prestone give me the phone. Lonzo Park lit right into it. Said, "Hubert, we need to work out something for you to reimburse us for this van your nephew flipped. It's basically totaled." I said, "I thought he was working for you when he done that." Lonzo said, "I hired him to drive 6 people to a Straight Like Jesus recovery meeting in Canard." And I said, "Well, he got them there, didn't he?" And Lonzo said, "Yeah, but he was 10 miles from Asheville when he wrecked our van. He had 200 cases of beer in the van when he crashed." I said, "Yeah, you can get beer cheap down there." And Lonzo said, "Hubert, you and I both know he was bringing that beer straight back to you to sell out of your store. We both know the right thing for you to do is pay for what he done." I said, "Lonzo, I don't know what to tell you. I'm retired. I ain't in business no more." Lonzo said, "And I'm going to need you to pay us back for those rotten roof shingles you sold us." I said, "Lonzo, I already give you a deep discount on them." And he said, "Half of them fell to pieces when we unbundled them." And I said, "Well, I'm just the middleman in that deal anyway." Lonzo said, "Well, I'm calling our lawyer first thing in the morning if you don't give us some satisfaction by the end of the day." I said, "Lonzo, I'm fixing to lose you." And then I cut the phone off. It was like that plumb to Caneville. There were calls from vendors the store still owed. There was a call about some counterfeit lottery tickets the boys ran off on the color copier up at the college. Reporter called looking for comment on how one of the boys may or may not have sold a gun to a dude shot up at Toby Keith concert in Columbus, Ohio. State police wanted to talk to me about a booby trap, blew a cop's hand off. This was on top of I was already dealing with a woman saying 2 of the boys had a hand in robbing the bingo and maybe one sold an RPG launcher to a ATF agent. 2 were linked to a house fire and 4 others were accused of hunting out a season. Also, all the boys was backing Trump's campaign. They wanted to know, could we put Trump flags up at the house? That jackass. It was a lot to deal with. Now them movie people coming, it was hard to focus, very discouraging. Take the urge to hoss a major appliance right out of a man. Plus, I had little Colbert on my mind. His daddy asked me to keep him in line. He knew it wasn't fair to ask. That boy had been in trouble since they taught him to walk. I said, Prestone, I might need to stop at the hot box before we go to Lowe's, and he said, okay. Thus us to change course for an early lunch at the hot box grill. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter. Here comes another chapter. It's narrated by Nicolette, Dawn's daughter, who's in high school. It's called Marla Butcher Shows Her Behind. Math class that day, we worked problems had letters in them. Girl behind me leaned up and said, why are we fooling with letters? I thought math was for numbers. Girl behind me's name was Marla Butcher. Her grumbling voice sounded like a gravel truck engine breaking off the mountain. I didn't look at her. I just said, bullshit, ain't it? And Marla raised her hand, and the teacher called on her, and she said, me and this girl think them letters is bullshit. This ain't English, Mr. Flat. And Mr. Flat said, maybe you and Miss Bilson want to take that up with Skidway. Miss Skidway was our principal. Marla Butcher said, why do you got to make everything about Skidway, Mr. Flat? We was asking you a serious math question. Why are you going to make us out criminals for our natural math curiosity? We're just trying to take advantage of our opportunity to learn, Mr. Flat, ain't we? Marla Butcher punched me in the shoulder, and I didn't say nothing. I looked right through Mr. Flat, with his curly hair and his head moved side to side like a bad carnival ride about to put a bunch of people in the hospital. Mr. Flat said, those letters are unknowns, Miss Butcher. They are the numbers we do not yet know but are trying to determine. She said, well, why are we fooling with them if we don't know them? What difference could they make to me if I don't know them? Mr. Flat tore a piece of paper in half and wrote on it, told Marla Butcher to come to the front. He gave Marla Butcher the paper, told her to take it down to the office. She snatched it out of his hand, slammed the door open, and took off down the hall. Mr. Flat stared at me and was still staring at me when Marla Butcher came back to the door. Marla Butcher was black-headed and ham-shouldered. She tore up the note Flat gave her, threw the pieces up in the air, and run. And Mr. Flat told us to work all the problems at the end of the chapter, turn them in the next day. He got on the phone and called the office and told him Marla Butcher was at large. I took a paper out of my 3-ring, put it on Mr. Flat's desk. He looked up from his phone call and he said, what's this? I said, them problems. He looked at my paper and said, when'd you do this? I said, last night. He said, I can't accept this. I said, why not? And he said, I didn't see you do them. For all I know, your boyfriend worked them. He said, I said, I ain't got no boyfriend. And he looked at my bruised up throat and said, give it time, Miss Bilson. I said, we did all this last year at my old school. And he said, that doesn't give you the right to disrupt my class. I said, I got the next 7 chapters done. And he said, that doesn't make you better than these others. I didn't say nothing. I knew what he was going to say next. He said, go sit down, Miss Bilson, unless you want to join your friend. And I went and sat down and added another name to my list of shit asses. Thank you.